Okay, on the rhythm stuff, so I think I mentioned it before, but out of all the things on the guitar, the only thing that I've ever really been like, I would say that I was naturally good at was being able to strum stuff. Which I guess if you had to pick one thing to be really good at, I might have picked something different. Like shredding some awesome lead licks, being able to pick them up really quick, or being naturally really good at playing scales or something, or picking up songs by ear or something like that. But I guess in the grand scheme of things, that it's not something to be hacked off about. But that's the only thing I've ever been complimented on by other guitar players. So I'm not trying to put myself up here. I'm just trying to say that I may be of limited help, but I'll give it my best shot. I really don't see any reason to play the guitar without a beer. I tried it once for a few minutes. I didn't like it. And I always tell everybody, the drunker you get, the better I sound. Well, it works the other way too. The drunker I get, the better I sound to me. So that's just proof right there that having a beer will make all this stuff a whole lot more fun and a lot easier. But when I go about learning a song, as far as the rhythm part, what I do is I decide after I kind of figure out like the chords and like what key it's in and that kind of thing. I decide how I want to attack it from a rhythm perspective, and that may not always mean strumming. I play a lot of red dirt country and stuff, and I mean obviously that's pretty much all just strumming stuff, but there's some things that you probably wouldn't be able to get it across playing by yourself if you strummed. And I used to think that playing with my fingers was like the end all. Like I would listen to Chet Atkins and stuff, and that's all I wanted to do was just be a really awesome finger picker. It mattered to me a whole lot. Now it's not as important, but there's some songs that the pick and the strumming thing it wouldn't really work. Think of some classic rock examples like if I tried to strum it wouldn't work. I mean, it's a song I have to play it with my fingers. There's no way about it. Absolutely has to be played with the fingers. I mean, that's 525,600, whatever you call that song. But I'm just trying to get the point across that not everything that you're gonna strum. So I always kind of get that out of the way first. Like I decide, okay, am I gonna finger pick it or am I gonna strum it? Or like I have a buddy that calls it slop picking. Where you kind of just do a combination of picking strings and a strum here and there or something like that, and that works in some songs. But most of those songs, if you're not able to really target those specific strings, you can still strum it. It kind of still it doesn't quite sound as good, but it still works. So anyway, on to the strumming stuff. I never say to myself, okay, well, I need to do this. I need to go down, down, up, down, or anything like I never could get that. I tried. I looked in books before, and they'd recommend strum patterns for certain songs, and I'd try to do it, and it felt so mechanical. I couldn't make it work. And there's some songs that I had a tough time really deciding how to strum it. In the worst songs, or the hardest ones to try to figure out how to strum, are ones where you can't hear the rhythm guitar, or maybe there's not even really a rhythm guitar there at all. And some of them, like there was a Hank Williams Sr. song that I wanted to play, and there's no rhythm guitar. I mean, you can't hear it in the recording. It's not there. And so I had to, eventually I figured out a way to do it, which is how a lot of other people do it, which is where you just kind of do that like a bass, alternating bass note type strum thing. But ones like that, they're tough. I mean, there's a lot of songs that really popular ones too. And if you listen to the recording, you can't hear the rhythm guitar. It's drowned out, and that's the way they wanted it, and that's how it is. So in those instances, as I mentioned before, go on YouTube, watch some other guitar players and see what they're doing, a live recording or something like that. That will really help you out to kind of figure out how they're doing it. And I do that too, definitely for sure. Like if I'm having trouble figuring out how to strum it, I mean, I'll go watch a YouTube video or see if I can find a video of somebody else playing it. Of course, you got to be careful. I mean, there's a lot of idiots on YouTube. I'm no Jimi Hendrix, but some of them are kind of scary. I might be one of them. But the bass guitar and the drums are the biggest indicators, I mean, for me, of what I listen to come up with a strum pattern. I'm listening to literally the rhythm. I'm forget the rest, like the actual melody part and what the guitars, like which chord they're playing. I'm literally just trying to pick up that rhythm. And the bass player, they're a lot of them are just, they're listening to the drummer to do their thing too. So if you can hear that bass guitar, you can pick out that rhythm, and that's a technique that works a lot of times. I mean, there's songs where you really can't hear any. The bass guitar maybe just carries more than the rhythm guitar, or some songs you won't even really hear a rhythm guitar a lot of times. Like Sublime's one of my favorite bands ever, and a lot of times there's nothing going on with the guitar, it's just the bass player. So just playing around. If you can't figure out a strum pattern, if you just kind of grab it and just kind of do some stuff with your right hand, I mean, while you're listening to it, to try to get that rhythm part going in this hand. I'm not trying to be funny here, but you know, try to make it do what the rhythm's doing, and just kind of, you know, work on it until you get a pattern or something there that feels right, that sounds natural. Maybe another thing you can do, I don't do this a whole lot, but it can help in some situations, is to get a recording, and then if you got something on your computer, you can slow the speed down. That might help you too to get the rhythm, because sometimes there might be a lot of stuff going on, and or it's, you know, maybe the chord changes are a little too fast for you to help to pick up on it right away or something. That, I mean, I've done it to learn lead parts. Like I'll slow the speed down so that I can hear, you know, that whatever they're doing, but it works for rhythm too. So the tones will be different, obviously, when you slow the music down. So like whatever key they're in, the bass notes, it's not gonna harmonize, is what I'm trying to say. Other things, I mean, you definitely want to incorporate as many techniques as you can into the rhythm part. Not just strumming, but chopping is really important. Like there's a song that, and I actually had a lot of trouble learning this song because the rhythm it's so hard, and it's a cross Canadian ragweed song, and he starts on a chop, and it makes it really awkward because it's different from the way you think it would start on a chord, but it doesn't. It's like, and it's weird. I mean, I had to work on that for a long time, because it's not the way that it should be, and it doesn't, and in a way it doesn't even go along with the words really. And there's songs like Mustang Sally. To me, it's like impossible to play it and sing it because the rhythm part doesn't even really go with the words. It's like let's see. And I'm just the rhythm part. I'm really just doing like with the bass guitar. If you can imagine that, I'm just emulating. I mean, I could just not even play a chord, and it kind of sounds like it. So, other things, knocks and slap banging your pick against the side of your guitar, or banging your fist against the side, or doing something like that. That can help to get that rhythm out there too. As I mentioned, the altered bass note picking, that'll help to get a rhythm through, especially like when you're playing by yourself. That's where you just hit the bass note and then strum, hit the bass note, strum. And you'll hear that a lot, and sometimes it'll be happening and you may not even really realize it. There's a lot of classic rock songs that use that technique. I'm trying to think of some other strumming techniques. I mean, just strumming everything with a downstroke, it can get you in the ballpark. I mean, a lot of times if I'm trying to learn a song, and maybe if I'm trying to learn the chords, I'll just kind of do some down, just until I can kind of pick it up. But there are songs where there's literally no upstrokes at all. I'm trying to think of something. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but in some songs, like there's a rap song. And it's all downstrokes. But that's another technique. I'm not chopping. I'm just muting the strings all of a sudden to help get that rhythm through, as if there was like a snare drum or something going on there. Just if a drum beat or whatever. I mean, I use that technique a lot. Not quite the same as a chop, which is where I'm using the pick to generate that sound, but I'm muting the strings and I'm just slapping them just like that, but not using the pick. So little bit different technique there. Sometimes a pause in a song. I mean, if you stop for just a split second, that can help translate stuff that's going on in the song, because there may be a part where like the drums are doing something, but if you really listen to it, the guitar player is kind of just stopped. So that happens. I mean, in music. Let's see. Another thing, I said listen to the bass guitar and the drums, but there's times where maybe if you can kind of emulate the melody with your rhythm hand, that kind of works, and at the same time try to target the strings more, or put more emphasis on those strings that you feel like would help to bring the melody through. And I'm reaching for classic rock examples here. I hadn't tried to play this in years. Hotel California, at the beginning, got that really famous, and I can't play it anymore, but when you strum that, if you do it in a way that kind of sounds like that, maybe that doesn't sound right, but it does to me. And all I'm doing is I've got that melody. It's playing in my head. And I'm just kind of trying to go with that. So that's just another technique. But I would say mostly just try not to be too mechanical about it and think about it too much, because if you lock yourself into a strum pattern, if you say, okay, well, I'm just going to play the whole song down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, down, up, or something, it's not going to work, because there's very few songs where the strum pattern just never changes throughout the entire song. I mean, even ones where the chord progression will repeat itself a lot, you'll hear a strum pattern maybe change a little there. There's one thing though that I was thinking about. When I buy picks, I buy this kind, which is like a Fender. I call it a shell pick. I don't know why, it's the only kind of pick I like. I guess it's because I played with them when I was little. But I take all the thins and the heavies out. I buy a variety pack because it's like really cheap, and then I just throw them all. I'll throw the thins and heavies away because I hate them. And I'll keep like one or two thins and like one really thick or heavy, just because, you know, in case I lose one, or I mean, I always lose them, but I mean, in case I get down to the floor sweeping, so to speak, and have to. But also I keep a thin for, there's certain songs where that kind of works, and that Take It Easy is a song like I would get a thin pick if I was going to play it, just because it's got that, it gives it that Eagles 12 string, really strummy type of sound. And so like you can hear the difference between the thick and the thin. My guitar's out of tune. If I play it with the thin, to me it really that's another example, just while I'm thinking about it, that's another example of the strum pattern is changing, because on the G part it's kind of, however you strum it, it's kind of staying the same, but then really the D is only, there's no strum to it, just touch it, and then it's to the C. So and that strum pattern, it changes several times during that song, and that's actually, I mean, if you can play that song, that's a pretty good one to learn, because it's actually not that easy. The chords are easy, but the rhythm part is actually where all the challenge is in that song. And there's a lot of chord changes, because the pattern is kind of, it's kind of a long pattern. I mean, it does repeat itself, but not that much. So it's a fun song, and it's good for beginners. Or really anybody, I guess. But yeah, try the thin pick and just play around. Just grab it and just, you know, just make some noise. You can get all kinds of different sounds just by strumming something different. I mean, like. Like doing a bunch of upstroke. But you won't find a lot of songs where you've got a whole bunch of upstrokes, or especially starting on an upstroke. You're going to have a lot more downstrokes, and a lot of times, and I find myself doing it, you'll find guitar players that they'll even move their hand for a second when they're not strumming. Like it's kind of weird, but it's like they make the motion to keep the time, to keep rhythm going. With that, one more thing, while I'm thinking about it, the metronome and actually keeping time, not really the same thing as what I'm talking about here, because a metronome or the actual beat, or that's what I call time. I mean, all that's for is to make sure that you're not playing one part of the song faster than you're playing another. That you stay on time, just like a train going down the tracks, really steady. But this part, what I'm talking about, is just trying to get the the song across to your audience so that you can strum it and they're going to be like, "Oh, I know that song." Because if you can't get it, if you can't get that from your strum pattern, then people are like, what are you playing?" And that's where the challenge is, like when you're playing by yourself. I mean, you could take Sweet Home Alabama, which has got, it's real signature, but if you strum it the right way, I think people like. And I'm kind of leaving out a bunch of stuff, so it's a little bit weird, but I mean, you kind of get the idea. If you strum it the right way, it kind of, if you don't do the, if you don't do all that crap, which is hard to play with a thin pick, which is why I hate them. But you can still kind of get that idea through there. So, man, I wish I could think of something. I can't. I'm sorry. I wish I had something, but I just don't. I don't have much advice for it. I really don't. I mean, I think the fact that you're thinking about it and you want to get it is help. That's going in the right direction, and it'll probably be one of those things where you just pick it up one day and you're like, oh, I don't even know why I was ever having trouble with that. So, but like I said, for me, it's been different. Haven't thought about it a lot. I mean, maybe like when I was little and I played guitar the first time, maybe it's something that I picked up then and never thought about. So, but anyway, hopefully this will help, or it'll help somebody on YouTube or something. And until then, have fun. Cheers.